now. Good meat. Whenever a machine falls, a scrapper won't be far. nutritious. quick way down. Hardy little plant. You'll help. I'll shake it out later. Scrappers, collecting salvage. This'll last. Just go about your business. Red light.
No, I'm awake and alert. Damn it.
Get involved in politics.
Looks like Alita left a few things behind. What's in this bottle? Ugh, it smells like ash or rotten eggs. I better pour that out. Aren't these for spying far away? I guess she was doing some gardening. Why would you need a spyglass in the garden? Something buried. No, something dug up. It must have left a trail.
Stirring up tensions. I'm keeping my eyes open.
Should be out there fighting machines, no?
Flower petals.
Around here.
Why would she take flowers from her own garden?
Did you find anything in the garden?
Nothing definite yet. I'll let you know.
Val without breaking a sweat. I had no idea the Nora were so fierce.
Arrested 2 for disorderly conduct last night. You don't want to know what they were doing.
The petals end here, at the water. Could her father have been right, but at the wrong place? Ropes. To tie up a boat that isn't here. Maybe she took the boat to that island over there. Looks like I'm in for a long swim. Really going to need it. The boat. This looks promising.
Stay back! It's not safe! Get out of here while you can!
I'm not gonna leave you like this.
Careful! Watch out! It jumps! Aim for its back!
Right on target.
Stay back! It's not safe! Get out of here while you can!
I'm not gonna leave you like this.
Be careful! Watch out! It jumps!
Looks like someone's creating a garden here.
Who are you? How did you learn to fight like that? What are you even doing here?
Maybe you can start by answering a few of my questions. Why did you bring flowers here?
No real reason. I'm trying to make this a place for us. For all of us.
Who's us? Is there someone else here?
No. No. I was going to surprise my friends with what I made. There's no one else here, obviously.
What are you doing on this island?
I come here To be alone.
Do you know your father fears you're dead?
I'm surprised he even noticed I was gone.
He has the whole village looking for you. He's worried.
The snap maw kept me. You took care of it, so thank you. I should be fine now.
Let's go back to the village together.
I need to finish planting my garden. Just a little more time. I'll be fine, I promise.
You know, I think I'll take a little more time, too. To look around.
You don't need to do that.
I really do. Bedrolls. 2 of them. And a set of cups. She must not have been alone here. Looks like Alita has a friend. Alita, if you came here to be alone, why are there 2 bedrolls? And don't lie to me this time.
By the sun, I don't know where he is.
Who?
A troll. He lights a fire signal when it's safe to meet him, but he's not here.
Who's a troll?
A friend I've known since childhood. I'd be planting in the garden and he'd dump worms down my back. But the last few months we'd meet here and everything was... I couldn't wait to see him again. It's like I'm dead and only come alive when I'm here with him.
Why keep this all secret?
Patrol is a soldier for the Karja in Shadow. Stationed at... It's treason for us to even meet. How could I tell my father? How could I tell...
Well then, how did you 2 arrange to meet here?
We came here as kids. After he left, I would come back sometimes. One day, I surprised him here. We sat and played like we had as kids, but... war had changed him. We started meeting in secret. He'd light a fire to signal it was safe for him to leave his post at the Citadel.
He didn't come?
I've been waiting all night and all day.
Enough of this.
Please, if you came all this way, will you look for a troll? He could be killed. We could break the ceasefire. But Honora wouldn't.
I'll find him if I can, as long as you go...
I will. But please come find me there. I can't sleep. I can't breathe.
Here's what's left of the fire. Looks like some sort of scuffle, ending with someone being dragged away.
Speak up or I'll cut off your other finger. Who were you signaling?
People really can scream. I want to hear him talk. Hard to
Maybe
believe
there's
that thing
that must
fought
be a troll.
alongside us.
I tell you, traitors are everywhere.
I don't...
me, fools! Gather your strength and fight!
Sick of hearing him scream. I want to hear him talk. Hard to
Hey!
believe that thing fought alongside
Speak up
us.
or I'll cut off your other finger!
I tell you,
Who were you
traitors
signaling?
are everywhere.
That must be a troll.
Not coming back from this one.
Got you! Going broke!
Not make
Aha! Gotcha!
Hit the ground!
Still sniffing around.
Hide all you like. Makes the kill. Right here, you sawed-offs! You'll be it!
Let me die.
I'm gonna wipe it out! Take another! Bleed before the sun!
I'm gonna die. Kill me.
Let this impale the enemy! That'll be good! Ah!
A troll. Are you a troll? Elita sent me.
Alida. I was gonna ask her to leave with me. To go into the Outlands. Somewhere out in the sun where no shadow could reach us. But we wouldn't have made it. They would have followed me. I know now. Alida, tell her they never learned about our island. She's safe. Give her this. Tell her it's worth it.
A troll? Poor troll. And poor Alita. scrabbling a bit. Tasty. Saving these for the trail.
Fine goods for a fair price.
You'll like what I have for sale.
Buy what you need, leave the rest.
Don't pass up these goods.
Don't pass up these goods.
Here, see for yourself. You regret not stopping when you're in the thick of it.
Take a look at these wares.
Stock up when you're on the road.
Would you like to buy something today?
I utterly refuse to buy from an Oseram. They'll cheat you as soon as look at you.
I utterly refuse to buy from an Oseram.
I barely turn a profit even in the best. Would you care for some fruit?
Has someone been stealing from you?
Yes, almost every night. Not enough.
I know how to try.
Really? Thanks.
I'll see what I can find.
Take a look at these wares.
Oh, my poor feet.
Fine goods.
Don't say it. I know he's gone.
The Shadow Karja found him. But you should...
It's a key to the lock he gave me. He said our lives were locked together.
He said it was worth it.
No. But I will be soon.
Are you saying what I think you're saying? Elita, no. Look at me. Look at me. I can't imagine how you're feeling. But you don't have to go it alone. Your father was crushed when he thought you were dead.
Crushed! He still treats me like a perfect doll. His prized possession.
Wait, Elita. I was wrong about what a troll said. He didn't say it was worth it. He said it is worth it. All of it. Our losses can feel overwhelming. But they remind us of our connections to others, to a troll, even to your father. A troll would have wanted you to remember that and go on. I know it. Now will you?
I'll try.
Please, let me get your father. Will you talk to him?
I guess.
I should have given you a token for your kindness in finding Alita. Is something wrong?
Elita needs you to listen. Right now. Go to the garden, quickly.
I will. At once.
To take over my brother's shift today. Sure as the sun's rising, he's off courting that noble girl.
It's about a trial, Father. He and I were together. I didn't want you to.
Trial? Yes. I remember. From a mutual mood myself.
She was incredible. Stopped Derval without breaking a sweat.
Would you like to buy something
I had no
today?
idea the Nora was confused.
We all have our places.
Nice to rest my feet for a minute.
Don't ask me where to go if you're lost. I'm a god.
Good meat. Here I am. So much for being careful. I wonder what's down here. This isn't a cave. It's a ruin. Red light. I'm not getting in. I think the old ones use numbers like this to indicate time. A holographic interface. These devices are missing power cells. I'll have to find power cells to get these to work. There, fits. I just need to slip in one more. That's two. It's some kind of code. Maybe there's a clue nearby. Maybe there's some more information nearby. Something that will tell me how this works. Looks like each dial has 4 positions. Maybe if I get each dial in the right position. Did it. Now to check the door. Those clamps have the armor locked in place. Maybe there's a way to power up the mechanism, release the clamps. Armor. From the age of the old ones. But how do I get to it? Just need to install these power cells. That should do it. These numbers. They must be related to segments of a circle. Definitely awake now.
Kay Vess, the underworld's favorite new scoundrel. This is your one shot. A safe filled with 157 million credits. And I can get you inside.
Get in. How about getting out? This job, it's a death wish. You want
Welcome back to Paul's Tech News. Let's not kid ourselves, everyone. The outlook is bleak for those of us who rely on the tech news for regular sustenance. Gone are the heady days of summer when we feasted upon delectable Asus and EK scandals. RTX 5090 rumors had not yet grown stale, and Intel's zany antics not kid ourselves, everyone. The outlook is bleak for those of us who rely on the tech news for regular sustenance. Gone are the heady days of versus just being pretty sad and depressing as it has become these days. With 2024's major launches behind us though, and 9800X3Ds stubbornly refusing to make news by routinely exploding, emitting toxic gases, or otherwise failing catastrophically, we now face a long and bitter winter without such fodder to rely upon, and so we must scrape together the crumbs and half-baked non-stories as best we can in an attempt to provide you, our loyal viewers, with a bit of new content to consume. So take pity on your local tech YouTuber, TikToker, or third variant of those two things this holiday season when you see us posting obviously exaggerated or made up bullshit, perhaps with a sprinkling of light hyperbole here and there for flavor, because we gotta eat. So on with the tech news.
Excellent!
Today's video is brought to you by Lexar's NM790 NVMe SSDs, providing lightning-fast storage for the latest generation of gaming and workstation PCs. Featuring a high-bandwidth PCIe Gen 4x4 interface, broad compatibility thanks to the M.2 form factor, and capacities up to 4 terabytes with sequential read speeds up to 7,400 megabytes per second, the NM790 makes no compromises and is conveniently available with or without an integrated heatsink. It's also a perfect pairing for Lexar's stable, reliable, and efficient Thor OC DDR5 memory kits too, so click the sponsor link in the description for more. The steady drip of NVIDIA RTX 50 series GPU rumors continued this week, and while we're probably about 2 months away from any of the cards actually launching in January, the timeline and GPU lineup seems to be crystallizing somewhat, and even more tidbits have bubbled up through the supply chain. Lineup seems to be crystallizing somewhat, and even more tidbits have bubbled up through the supply chain, almost as if the initial launch was supposed to happen in late 2024 but was pushed back for some reason. Per benchlife.info, there are now 7 different GPU SKUs in the works, if you include the 5090D that will likely be China specific, but the 5090, 5090D, 5080, 5070 Ti, and 5070 are all rumored to debut sometime in Q1, with the 5060 and 5060 Ti still to be confirmed, but if they do exist, they'll probably follow shortly thereafter in April. Apart from launch timeframes, more specs are being speculated about, which videocards.com was kind enough to put on a chart for quick comparison. These 5080 and 5090 rumored stats are old news by now, but the 5070 and 5070 Ti are now said to have 250 watt and 300 watt TGPs respectively, with the 5070 Ti based on the same GB203 die as the 5080, rocking 8,960 CUDA cores and 16 gigs of GDDR7 memory. The 5070 could be based on the smaller GB205 with 6,400 CUDA cores and 12 gigs of VRAM. Meanwhile, another post from Megasize GPU on Twitter says the RTX 5090's GB202 die will be 744 square millimeters, or 22% larger than the AD102 chip the RTX 4090 uses, so naturally the bigger package size has quite a few people excited. Your mom, of course, but also GPU cooling solution suppliers like Aura's, who said the RTX 50 series will seize the whole market starting in December. I think they're talking about the supply side of the chain, but even system integrators are setting up pre-orders for PCs with the still unannounced GPUs. Comino, a liquid-cooled server and workstation vendor, has a landing page set up so you can get first in line to buy a system with 8 RTX 5090s. I'm sure it will be competitively priced. But paying high prices for GPUs, next gen or last gen, seems to be our only option these days, as even without a 50 series launch, the RTX 40 series stock is drying up and prices are starting to increase as a result. The RTX 4090, for example, was $1,800 a month or so back, but now the cheapest model is just shy of $2,000. Or it was until this Gigabyte one popped up. Never mind, it's out of stock. Speaking of overpriced PC hardware, if you want a 9800X3D to go with your $2,000 RTX 4090, you'll probably still have a tough time finding one for the $480 MSRP. Stock has been coming in occasionally for those who have been diligently camping product pages, so try to stay patient. On the bright side though, to follow up on last week's story, no further incidences of 9800X3Ds burning up in their CPU socket have been reported, aside from the original 2 that were pretty clearly caused by user error during installation. AMD's CPU offerings in general are clearly dominating the market though. If Amazon's bestseller list is any indication, all 10 spots are held by Ryzen processors, with the 9800X3D up at the top, and Intel only managing to come in at 11th place with the Core i7-13700K. If you are looking at CPUs on Amazon and you see a screaming deal on a supposed $200 Ryzen 9800X3D though, pump your brakes because it's a scam, as reported by Tom's Hardware and that little part of your brain that sometimes gives you good advice about these common sense type scenarios. Fortunately, Amazon does seem to be removing these types of listings fairly quickly. None are pulling up as I am taking a look right now, but with the holiday shopping rush in full swing, there will likely be more of them popping up as Black Friday approaches. If you really are in the market to buy a new CPU though, definitely check out my video from earlier this week where I talked about all the best CPUs to buy right now at various price points. There's a GPU one too that went up last week. I'll link both of those down in the video's description because I hope that you guys get what you want for Christmas. Speaking of holiday shopping, I have a lot of that still to do, so let's move on to tech briefs for maximum efficiency. Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 launched this week, but prospective pilots were left frustrated by the game being too popular, far exceeding the 200,000 users Microsoft had load tested for, which caused the game service as a whole to crash multiple times. Microsoft decided to reduce the client-side install size by streaming assets from their centralized servers during gameplay, but with so many users accessing it, their mission service database cache became saturated and many gamers experienced extremely long load times, if they were able to even play the game at all. Jay's 2 Cents took a test run of the game on Wednesday and encountered all of these problems, as well as getting only about a 30 FPS frame rate running the game at 1440 Ultra with his 7800X3D and RTX 4090 test system. So Flight Simulator fans are advised to give the game some time to be updated and for those server loads to be balanced. Remember back when they did that stuff before launching a game? No? Me neither. Speaking of rocky launches, the OG Steam controller never quite gained the popularity needed for mainstream use or acceptance, but it still had a lot of fans in the PC community. So those fans might be excited to hear that the long discontinued gaming controller has a sequel in the works, according to Valve leaker Brad Lynch on Twitter. And it's supposedly already being tooled for mass production, which likely means it's not just a product they're developing that may or may not make it to market. We will probably get the Steam controller too sometime in 2025, if this is true. So Valve really just needs to work on the user experience and profile system to make it a bit more straightforward to set up out of the box. In the meantime, I'll dust off my Steam controller so it can be added to the display at the Smithsonian. You might have seen this throwback case design on April Fool's last year, or earlier this week. It's a Silverstone FLP01, which was originally a 2023 April Fool's joke meant to poke some fun at older PC case designs from the 80s and 90s. Turns out the nostalgia is real though, and enough people were enamored with the design that Silverstone went ahead and mass-produced the thing. The floppy drives as covers for optical drives, which are becoming pretty aged themselves, and USB and front panel I/O is a great touch. It will go up for sale in early 2025 and will cost you about $130 US. Now you just need to find a massive 90-pound 19-inch CRT monitor to set up on top of it, and you can fire up Myst and party like it's 1995. Finally, if you don't have a cat on top of your PC, you can now put a cat into your PC, or a cat theme at least, which PC builders have been asking for ever since I can remember. Colorful has blessed the world with the introduction of their ColorFire B650M Meow motherboard, which fully supports the latest Ryzen 9000 series CPUs. And yes, there's an Intel version as well, for sadists I suppose, with the ColorFire B760M Meow. If you're not delighted by the white, black, and orange color scheme, the cute cartoon cats, or the Cats Rule the World branding, surely the corresponding cat-themed BIOS screen will melt your heart while also allowing you to enable XMP or Expo settings. I hope they have a matching cat-themed RTX 5090 planned for next year too, because I don't know what other GPU would be worthy to slot into such a fabulous motherboard. In closing, I would just like to remind you guys that our awesome hardware charity live
With the announcement of the PS5 Pro, my first thought was, wow, that's a lot of money for a console you can't slip a Blu-ray into. But my second thought was, wait, this might actually be really good for VR, because VR is super demanding, and with more power, surely the VR will be VR-ier than ever. So in today's video, I'm gonna see how much you benefit going from the PS5 to the PS5 Pro using PSVR 2. But before we get into that, today's video is sponsored by Micro Center and their spectacular Black Friday sales event. Not only have they slashed prices on SSDs, laptops, and even flight sim gear, but if you're in the market for some AMD 3D V-Cache action, why not save using a bundle? Or if you're in the market to step up your game from 1080p to 1440p, you should check out this awesome Asus monitor deal. Now if you live in Santa Clara and you feel all left out by all this excitement, don't worry, because there's a Micro Center coming in 2025. So check out all the awesome deals linked below. Now with the PS5 Pro, I find it interesting that straight on the box they mention several times that it doesn't have a disk drive. Oh wow, they do make a big deal of it being maidenless, don't they? I guess they want to make it clear that you need to buy one while you're still in the shop. In the box, in terms of accessories, I also find this interesting. You of course get all the cables you need, which is good, but it comes with the normal PS5 controller and not the Edge controller, which is, my God, that's expensive. Okay, never mind, I guess that makes sense. And then you also get these little plastic thingies, which are apparently feet for it to lie on its side. That's really weird. It smells like a Tokyo subway in this box. Interesting smell aside, the PS5 Pro is smaller than I was expecting, but with a whole bunch of ventilation and clearly visible massive heatsinks. And the I/O is similar to the original PS5 except for the additional USB-C port on the front. Also, the use of this terrible, cheap piano black plastic should be punishable by at least 3 hours in the go-kart battery ball torture machine. Now, an interesting note on the price. When the PS3 launched back in 2006, the 20 gig version of that cost $500, which adjusted for inflation today is more expensive than the PS5 Pro is. But in all fairness, that was also considered wildly expensive. It was also built like a tank and had a Blu-ray player included, which was a huge value back then. Whereas with the PS5 Pro, you're getting 2 terabytes of internal storage, Sony's new upscaling technique, which seems to involve a laser hitting your display or something, and some more GPU power. That's more or less it. But that 45% more GPU performance could make a big difference in VR with your eyes squished right up against the displays. Let's find out. When going through the initial setup process for the PS5 Pro, which obviously despite it being a brand new console already requires several massive updates to be downloaded, but during the whole process I kept thinking that the setup felt disappointingly similar to the standard PS5. I mean, I feel like they could have at least added a Pro to the end of that. I then perused the surprisingly extensive PSVR2 library where I found something interesting. Oh, what's this? The channel's only 7,000 subscribers away from 700,000. If only there was something you could do with that information. Oh yeah, obviously that exists. I'd be surprised if that wasn't the first game that came out on VR. And another actually interesting thing is there wasn't a huge amount of overlap between PSVR2 games and PS5 Pro Enhanced. But luckily, the Gran Turismo 7 patch finally dropped, which is the whole reason this video didn't come out earlier. And then there was also No Man's Sky, Resident Evil 4's VR patch, which seems interesting, and some kayaking simulator. There are more, but we're focusing on these for the image quality comparisons in this video, but honestly, I was quite impressed at the extent of the PSVR2's library. But first things first, I had to get acquainted with the PSVR2. Luckily, during the setup process, the PSVR really holds your hands, which is super useful for a knuckle dragger like me. But the moment I put the headset on, something jumped out at me. The first thing that's immediately very obvious. The lenses in the Meta Quest are insanely better than the lenses in this. The Fresnel lenses in the PSVR2 feel like Stone Age technology compared to the pancake lenses in the Quest 3, with a tiny sweet spot in the middle. But anyway, tangent aside, I got settled in quickly. Okay, we need a lot more force feedback in the controllers, because it does not feel like I'm kayaking. I went kayaking recently, so I am an expert on this. There's clearly like a lot of graphical horsepower behind what's going on here. Look at the little penguins. Oh, that's cool. Oh, there's more jiggle to that than I was expecting. But once I finally finished screwing around as a Kraken, it was time to compare some games. The controls are absolutely butt cheeks in this game. Wildly terrible controls aside, in No Man's Sky, I did immediately notice a difference going between the two consoles. During spaceflight, the first thing that jumped out to me was the render distance difference between the two consoles. I started with the PS5 Pro and I didn't really notice any render changes with the asteroids as I got closer to them. Whereas when I switched over to the normal PS5, the asteroids stayed a very basic 2D shape until I got really close to them. When they'd finally pop into their full rendered shape. It was honestly really distracting. Now aside from that, it did seem like the normal PS5 was rendering at a lower resolution. I don't know how noticeable that's going to be in the screen capture, but you can definitely see it in the headset. Although the interior of the ship looked very similar between the two versions, there wasn't any significant upgrade in textures between the two, for example. Another interesting thing with how the PlayStation renders VR is there's a massive resolution fall off as you head to the edges of the image. But because of the horrendous off-center performance of the Fresnel lenses, you don't notice at all in the headset. Although looking at the screen capture, I think the PS5 Pro has a slightly less aggressive fall off. Now again, while landing your ship on a planet, the PS5 Pro loaded in things like trees and stuff sooner than the PS5, and then when walking around on the planet, the render resolution difference feels a lot clearer in the headset. But when it comes to the screen capture, I had to really zoom into stills to be able to see the difference, but in the headset that image is really close to your eyes, so it makes sense that you're more sensitive to the difference in the VR headset. Also, the frame rate felt better, which makes a big difference in VR. Now in switching over to Kayaking Game, which again is a PS5 Pro enhanced VR game, there is a difference between the two. Although it is difficult to transcribe that difference in a 2D video, aside from the fact that there's more penguins on the ice in the Pro variant for some reason. I guess penguins are very difficult to render, but when you really zoom into screen captures, you can tell the textures on the ice are higher resolution. The PS5 Pro screenshot is even from further away, but it's still sharper. And when looking at this little ice hole, it's also sharper on the PS5 Pro. So you really have to pixel peep to see the differences in the screen capture, but again, remember this image is like right up against your eye in VR. Although I think it's important to point out that the screen capture is way sharper than what you're seeing in the headset. You can clearly see the individual pixels in the PSVR 2, so despite being able to tell that it's sharper, they're both still pretty fuzzy. And then in terms of frame rate, it again felt like the game was running smoother on the PS5 Pro. Now with Resident Evil 4, initially I wandered around whinging about how you couldn't interact with enough stuff in the environment.
You can't actually interact with anything is really lame. That's one of the things that Alex does super well, is you can pick up anything. And it kind of breaks immersion when you like walk up to a thing with a jar on it and you can't interact with it.
But as I was wandering closer to my inevitable jump scare, the VR was selling the atmosphere really well.
Pretty cool being in the murder cabin. It sells the atmosphere a lot better than just like a monitor does.
And my first interaction with a zombie triggered something primal in me.
Whoa, that did trigger an instinct. I don't know, that was crazy.
Now needing clean underwear aside, RE4 was the game I feel like it made the biggest difference in. Going back to the original PS5 from the PS5 Pro felt like a huge step back in terms of resolution. This was the first game where the difference felt immediately obvious. But with the screen capture, like the other games, I have to really zoom in and nitpick to tell the difference between the two. Like with this one, I was convinced they were both the same screenshot. I had to go back several times and double check that I actually did this correctly. But in the headset, the difference felt apparent and the frame rate felt better. But I could also be going crazy, which is a distinct possibility. Either way, RE4's VR DLC was really fun, if terrifying.
Oh, my lord. Oh. Okay, there we go, that worked.
Now I waited a week for Gran Turismo 7's PS5 Pro update to make this video, and the reason I was willing to wait is I really wanted to try Gran Turismo 7 in VR. I think it's one of the most compelling VR titles on the PS5. And for the week's wait, we got a setting that says it does VR stuff better on the PS5 Pro. So let's turn it on and see what it does. Now straight off the bat, and this is an important difference, the frame rate is noticeably higher on the PS5 Pro in VR. This is with both of the games running with ray trace priority on, and with the normal PS5 you can feel it chugging occasionally in VR, which you never notice on the Pro. As I spin out because I was caught off guard by the absurd amount of power I gave my GR86. Now when it comes to visual fidelity, again like with RE4, I felt like in the headset I could tell a decent difference in terms of rendered resolution. But again like with RE4, the zoomed in screenshot just looks the same to me. And the same thing goes for the VR showroom. It's maybe a little bit sharper on the PS5, but even in the headset they looked pretty similar to me. So after spending 4 days A-Bing between the two consoles, I feel like the PS5 Pro makes VR look a little bit better, and it definitely runs more smoothly, which helps in VR quite a bit. But my opinion on it, and the conclusion of this video, which may upset some people because people get all triggered when I complain about the visual fidelity of VR for some reason, but I feel like the PSVR 2 is the main visual fidelity bottleneck in this setup. So in my opinion, upgrading to the PS5 Pro for your PSVR 2 feels a little bit like polishing a turd. I'm not saying the PSVR 2 is a turd, but the analogy stands. You can polish a poo until your fingers bleed. At best, you're just going to be left with slightly shinier crap. And with that conclusion, I look forward to all the VR enthusiasts taking turns defiling my mailbox. If you enjoyed the video, however, subscribe to the channel, like, maybe watch another video. A suggestion will pop up in a second, and until the next video, bye-bye.
Meta has sold just shy of 20 million of their Quest 2 headsets. To put that number in perspective, that is about half as many as Sony has sold of the PlayStation 5. But it's a VR headset, not a living room gaming console. And if you're asking, hey, is the Quest 3 an improvement over the Quest 2? The answer is, yeah, it is. But you're also asking the wrong question. What you should be asking is, Meta has sold.
So here we go with my Meta Quest 3 review. Please bear in mind that I've only had a few days to test the headset fully at home, so I'll likely do an updated review in the future.
We just got a massive Quest 3 update that finally unlocks some new features, to even giving your headset a big boost in graphics. And we also had some insane VR game news, so let's dive right into it. Now the first thing you will probably directly notice is the complete design refresh of the Horizon OS, because besides the addition of the brand new calendar app, the overall interface now looks a lot more clean and easier to read, with the most significant change probably being the settings tab, since this is revamped to look a lot more like the iPad OS or any other product from Apple. And since this is a big change from what it was like before, it might take a while for you to get used to it and to find your way to where everything is located. But another big improvement is the smoother pass-through, because in this update, the outside camera frames have been improved to now perfectly align with your display, and this should make your pass-through look a lot more smooth when used in mixed reality, which should, in combination with the previous updates that significantly reduced the warping distortion, as well as improved on the hand tracking, make your overall experience in mixed reality much more realistic. And the same goes for the mesh scanning, where beforehand, if you wanted to make some changes to your play area, you would always have to redraw it completely from scratch. But now, Meta made it possible for you to change your already existing environments, so that you can simply refine the space where it's needed. But another great new feature is when we look at Remote Desktop, because this built-in app already made it possible for you to access your PC screen directly inside virtual reality. But now, you can also find it from your quick settings menu, meaning you no longer need to hunt it down through your app library. And personally, this is probably the application I use the most on a daily basis. And this is because it simply works with both Windows and Mac OS, giving you basically just a big extension of your own computer screen. But another secret feature that a lot of people don't know about is when it comes to the volume mixer, because in your quick settings, you will now be able to adjust the volume of your calls separately from the volume app and media audio. And that means you no longer need to bring down the sound of each game just to be able to hear the people on your Horizon party or WhatsApp call or any other communication platform. And by the way, if you love VR, then clicking on that like button would be highly appreciated, because this also lets me know to make more videos like this when new features or updates come out. But in addition, we also had some other smaller updates that do have a big impact. For example, while it was already possible to watch spatial videos inside your headset, similar to that of Apple Vision Pro, you can now also send those directly in your Horizon chat, making it much easier to share. But probably the biggest feature that came with this update is that Meta boosted the GPU clock speed of the Quest 3 and Quest 3S significantly. This means that your apps and games can run at higher maximum resolution than they did before. So if developers take advantage of this, then this can change your VR experience quite a lot. Because when we look at the numbers, the default mode started at 545 MHz, with its maximum at 640 with the favored GPU mode. And to translate this in more simpler terms, it just means that Meta finally unlocked the power that was already available in the Snapdragon XR2 Generation 2 chip. But Meta didn't stop there, because with this update, Steam Link on your Quest headset will now finally support hand tracking. And this is a huge breakthrough if you're playing some PC VR in the Snapdragon. This means that your features or updates come out. But in addition, we also had some other smaller updates that do have a big impact. For example, while it was already possible to watch spatial videos inside your headset, similar to that of Apple Vision Pro, you can now also send those directly in your Horizon chat, making it much easier to share. But probably the biggest feature that came with this update is that Meta boosted the GPU clock speed of the Quest 3 and Quest 3S significantly. This means that your apps and games can run at higher maximum resolution than they did before. So if developers take advantage of this, then this can change your VR experience quite a lot. Because when we look at the numbers, the default mode started at 545 MHz, with its maximum at 640 with the favored GPU mode. And to translate this in more simpler terms, it just means that Meta finally unlocked the power that was already available in the Snapdragon XR2 Generation 2 chip. But Meta didn't stop there, because with this update, Steam Link on your Quest headset will now finally support hand tracking. And this is a huge breakthrough if you're playing some PC VR games, especially the more social ones like VR chat, for example, where hand tracking can really change the way how you interact with virtual reality and other players. And technically, you can even use it in titles like Half-Life Alyx. But while you might now see your hands tracked perfectly inside VR, you will still be missing the buttons and triggers to play it. So even though there will be a lot of PC VR apps that can't be played through with just using your hand tracking, having the option there might still encourage game studios to start using them in the future. Oh, and it is also important to know that all these features will come to the Quest 3 as well as Quest 3S. And even though you might not see all of them directly, this is because Meta is known to roll out their updates very slowly. But don't worry, you will get them eventually. And on top of that, we also had some insane VR game news. But before we get into that, let's have a quick word from the company that made this video possible. Because none other than Cat VR, who are known to create Cat VR that stream up Google Hub, making it in the description below. Campaign for years, and although Nomad, find that gets us and $30 horse description below, but that gets us to the VR game news, with none other than Blade and Sorcery Nomad finally receiving their full release and Crystal Hunt update. Now this is something that people have been waiting for years, and although until now Blade and Sorcery was already a great game for anyone who loves some intense VR combat, it is the brand new campaign mode that changes it completely, with this so-called Crystal Hunt now adding a progression mode to it, as well as the introduction of a skill tree and much more spells and combinations for you to pull off. But what a lot of users were impressed about the most was the big graphics update that came with it, making the entire game now truly one of the best physics-based combat titles that you can get on Quest. But we also got a big news update from the popular VR ridden game known as Synth Riders, because besides the general improvements that it got, their so-called Spooky update also adds a new themed song to their already massive free playlist. And an extra cool thing is that they are actually holding a Quest 3S giveaway that you can participate in. So I'll leave a link for you guys on how to get a chance of winning that down below, so that hopefully one of you can soon get their hands on a brand new headset. Oh, and if you have Quest Plus, just know that you can get Synth Riders in that case completely for free, since it is part of the gaming library from the Quest Plus subscription, meaning that in that case, you don't have any reason to not at least try it. But we also got a massive update overhaul on the PvP game known as Strike Rush, where in this fast first-person shooter, you can engage in 4v4 multiplayer battles and leap across the arenas using jump pads, or even pilot a gigantic Colossus mag and try your shoot your way to victory. But they now made some big improvements that changes the game all over. This goes from the introduction of
Dobry wieczór wszystkim. I hope you guys are doing absolutely fantastic today. I'm Mystical and I'll be bringing you the latest in AR and VR news. However, just before we jump into this video, let me tell you guys a little bit about our sponsor. If you guys are into strategic storytelling games, I've got something exciting to share with you. Triangle Strategy, originally released for the Nintendo Switch in 2022, has now made its way onto MetaQuest. For those who have played the original, you'll remember the deep tactical combat and the rich 2D artwork that gives this game its unique charm. Well, now that's all been taken to virtual and mixed reality, bringing you right into the heart of Nordelia's conflict over salt and iron. Triangle Strategy is all about making tough decisions, based on ideals of utility, morality, and liberty. These shape up the story branches and which allies you'll have at your side. The visuals here are pretty stunning too. I absolutely into it.
Okay, so the first piece of news that we have today is actually a fairly big one, as the first bit of Quest UI redesign is finally arriving to us on V71. And this isn't a small redesign either. This is one that you're going to notice straight away. Reading from Upload VR, Quest V71 is a huge update, bringing a number of improvements and new features to Meta's Horizon OS. Quest V71 brings a design refresh to Horizon OS. Meta said it made assorted changes to the way panels look and behave, where the control bar resides, the colors of various UI elements, and so on. And these changes come for both light mode and dark mode. The most significant change, though, is to the settings interface, which has been completely revamped with a side tab design that resembles iPadOS and regular Android on tablets. Meta says it's also improved search within settings, so you can now find exactly what you're looking for. You now also have AI audio to expression. Meta says V71 brings audio to expression, an on-device AI model that derives compelling facial motion and lip sync signals from only microphone input, providing estimated facial expressions without face tracking hardware. So this is actually really interesting. They're going to be using AI instead of face tracking in order to derive what your face actually looks like when you're speaking. I guess we have had versions of this in the past, but I assume this is going to be a lot better. We now also apparently have smoother pass-through. Meta says it improved the camera frame rates to align with your display frame rates, which should make pass-through look smoother. This is the third announced improvement that Meta has made to its pass-through technology.
Radiation protection falling. Radiation protection falling. Radiation protection falling. Technology recharge. recharge. Technology recharge.
you.